Welcome to the Melbourne Content Studio. I'm your host, Vic Walker, and each episode I speak to business owners and creatives about all things marketing and content creation to get you inspired and to grow. So let's dive in. If you're an author and you want to know how to run a business as an author, this is the video for you. So today I've got Hazel Edwards here. She is the author of the iconic book, A Hippopotamus Eating Cake on the Roof, and I hear that it's a special anniversary for that book.
It's the 45th year, and it's the 50th year that I've been a professional author, which is
how many years?
50. It's a rather rare species.
Right. You said you were how old again this year?
80.
80. Oh, that's amazing.
Authors never retire because you're always still involved with ideas.
Yes.
And I think that's probably the message I'd give anybody in the creative field. You've got to like what you're doing, but also be prepared to learn new things.
That's right. And you run it like a business, aren't you?
I've always run it like a business. I've done a book on authorpreneurship because a lot of people assume, if something's creative, it's arty, and you don't make a living. Unless you can make a living at it long term, you can't do the projects that you really like.
Yeah, that's right.
I always wanted to be an author, but I do have alternative skills.
Yes.
And I have a grandson who wants to be a novelist, and I said, get some other skills as well. So
absolutely.
I've always had a teaching
Well, you have to
background.
have some business skills if you want to make it successful, because you are pretty much a unicorn.
I haven't been called a unicorn before. I've been called the hippopotamus lady, which is a mixed blessing, but that's been a great book that's opened many, many doors.
Fantastic. How did that book come about, and how did it come so iconic? Like, was there a special event that happened?
Yes. We had a new house and there was something wrong with the roof.
Yeah.
And my then 4-year-old son, whose own son is now reading the book.
Wow.
He thought it was the hippo up there that was eating cake when the workman came to fix the roof. You see him banging around.
Yes.
And so it grew from that, but it was really that it typified the desire to have a friend. Most children want to have a friend who's comforting and big and can solve problems. We'd all like one of those.
Yes.
But when you're 4, you particularly want one.
Yeah.
And so I think it just hit that need.
Right.
And that's why. Plus Deborah Nolan's illustrations have been memorable too. And it's been a great delight. I mean, I joke, they do call me the hippopotamus lady. People send me all sorts of hippopotamus. But it has been, I was lucky in that it was my 3rd book.
Yes.
And so it opened international markets. Wow. And everybody's got a young child in their life that's had a favourite book, and that's been the favourite book. And still is.
Picture books are so competitive. There are so many out there. How is that one more successful than, say, all the other picture books?
Because I trained as a primary teacher and I used to teach a number of things, but I was very conscious of the literacy aspect of it, and so I've always shaped the words in a way that's accessible for a new reader.
Yes.
And so that, I think, has helped. I mean, it's an absurd idea, and I just happen to have a son with an unusual imagination. But all children have that, and you can encourage that. I think it was also the timing. At that stage, it was actually written about 78, but it was published, by the time it came out, it was 1980.
Yes.
And it was published by Hodder and Stoughton, who were an international publisher, but whose headquarters were in London. And so the publisher here, Margaret Hamilton, absolutely loved it, took it out of the slush pile, and she promoted it everywhere.
Wow.
And as a result, it went into Japanese and various languages. That was the period of the height of Australian picture books, and there have been a number in that group that have done very, very well. Now, with the development of the way in which things are made, picture books are very expensive if you have an illustrator.
Yes.
A human illustrator.
Yes.
I'll talk about that as opposed to AI later. used to take about a year to do it. So they were the most expensive type of book to
produce.
Yeah, but they also travel the furthest and they stay around longer.
Yes.
And I think, to be honest, one of the reasons I've survived as an author is that I've written in a number of fields. I'm known as a children's author, which I take with great pride. I think it's harder to be a children's author, but it's also, you have a new readership every 6 years.
Yes, of course.
And if that's the first book somebody's read of a particular kind, that stays with them, and they love that.
Myself especially, we keep all the favourite books to save it for the grandkids, and it's really hard to throw away picture books, I think. Because it's easier to give away novels, but picture books, those stays.
Well, that's probably because, and for adults too, I mean, I write for adults, I write histories for adults, that adults tend to read something once. Children will reread
over and over again.
Parents will reread, so they do appreciate it.
Yes.
If there is, and that's what I think the Hippo books have got, is a subtext, something going on underneath for the parents who, if you have to read it every night 10 times, you need something in there.
Yes. So there's a hippopotamus.
There are actually 7 hippopotamus stories.
Oh,
that's the last one, a travelling theatrical production.
Wow.
And there was a film, and it went into Braille.
And
amazing. The Braille one gave me the most pleasure, but it was fabulous to see the children in the audience relating to the production. So that's the joy of it.
It is.
I became involved with something completely different last year, and that was Go Go Gecko.
This is the Gecko book
This
here.
is in the last year. Now, this is something completely different. The reason it links in with the Hippo book is that my son now has 2 young children. He lives in Darwin, and they are currently 4 and 6. When we did this, they were 3 and 5. And in Darwin, the grandparents visit or they communicate digitally. Now, I've always written stories for, I have 4 grandchildren. The eldest is 26, he can write his own. But the 2 young ones, a gecko was relevant to Darwin. So I wrote them. It was not meant to be a commercial book at all. It was about them, and it was about their family, and we used the family photos. And then I had a producer approach me and say that she would very much like to put it into Indonesian Mandarin.
Wow.
The reason she was so attracted to it was that her son is on the spectrum, and he could read my Hippo story, but he couldn't read others. Okay. Did I have anything else? And that's what was the only unencumbered book. She said she wanted to use AI.
Yes.
This was last year. This is Lisa Lowe, the producer, for the illustrations and the background. Now, I have qualms about that because as a human creative, in the last year to 18 months, like many Australian authors, my books have been skimmed for AI with no recompense. So I have real qualms about that. On the other side, I think that you must learn the next technology in order to understand it. And so I said I was prepared to do this if it were a case study book, which she was quite happy about, and that I wrote about the process. But also, the reason I did it was if she was going to put it in other formats, I didn't want my young children's faces online. They are 2 very distinctive blondes with curls, and I didn't want them, I don't put them up on social media. So for reasons of cybersecurity, I said, I'm prepared to do this experiment. It has been very interesting because, what happened in the end was, one of the reasons I think I've survived also is I've got a supportive family, and that I utilise their skills. And my daughter-in-law is a very good organiser, and she said, oh, but look, the background's not right. It's not for Darwin, it's not tropical, the trees are wrong, they've got the wrong shoes on, they need shorts, all the rest of it, there's no fans, etc. So she said, look, I'm happy to suggest to the producer change. So what happened was the 3 of us went onto WhatsApp. We were in 3 different time zones, and we did it across a couple of months. And that was a fabulous. experiment.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about it is the producer can speak those languages, but also my children are learning Indonesian in the school in Darwin. And so it all fitted. And I was there a couple of weeks ago and I read the story, and the children were very happy. It was their story. But the issue of grandparents or parents using their children's photos on social media is the one that I picked up on, because I've always been very conscious of the value of writing as a gift of the imagination for the children in your family. But that issue now of the cyber aspect of it is a bit worrying.
Such a new platform that even the laws around social media are still
behind.
Yeah, they're still very behind, they're still developing, and everyone's just catching up, I think. It's such a big jump for our generation.
I think it's an issue comparable to the Industrial Revolution in the sense that it will make sunset occupations out of quite a number of visual occupations. In the past, I've collaborated with animators and with illustrators and puppeteers and co-writers, and that's always been very positive, because when you put two sets of skills together you get a better finish. But now the difficulty is that some of those occupations are not going to be able to continue, because with the AI, which is a sort of legalised theft at the moment of the original creatives, they cannot, particularly animators, illustrators, and those who depend, and some of the graphic designers, unfortunately. And that's why I have honestly looked at it from my perspective. Now, I principally call myself a writer and author, and I think in abstract, I don't think in visuals, but I have become very conscious that the covers of books like this one, possibly my last long one, wasted refers to the garbage patches mid-ocean and the asylum seekers setting up a stake there. And so my character is a teenage boy of indeterminate age. I was aware that the cover was absolutely vital, because I wrote this with screen in mind, so that in the past the book has been the central way in which to convey an idea, but now with a younger population it's possibly screen and the book becomes ancillary. So I had written it in a way that it could be filmed. And I'm currently pitching it for screen.
Yes, I need to connect you with a producer. You probably know a lot of producers.
Yes, well, I've got a few that are interested in the moment, but I'm definitely interested in offers. Because I think this has got both the ideas, and the concept there is that the asylum seekers live on the shanty boats around the garbage patches do actually exist. They're the only piece of land that doesn't belong to anybody. And the greatest problem for asylum seekers is to get visas. And I have been involved with some groups.
So when you're saying garbage patches, are they in Australia?
No, they're in mid-ocean, and they're growing at a great rate. It's the rubbish, and particularly the plastic, that comes from various countries. And because of the swirls of the climate, they're building up in particular areas. It's been
happening. The water?
Yeah, it's been happening since the 1970s.
And it's solid?
Yeah, but that material, I don't mean they're living on it, they're living around it. That material can be converted to biofuel. And if you can sell biofuel with a patent, you've got money, you can form a state. And that is what the political idea behind that one is. But the boy is the imaginative one. And he draws, you can see he's got his, he draws all those on board in the sense of marine animals, and there's a lot of humour in it. It was written as a young adult novel, which means a readership of 13 to 20 or so. But that's a very significant readership because they become passionately involved.
Yes.
And there are suggestions in how you might be able to make a change.
Yes.
And many young people are very involved
In
with
sustainability.
ideas, but they don't know what to do.
No.
I
think they love the idea, but they don't know how to put it in practice.
Well, the other reason I wrote this one was that I was an Antarctic expeditioner a few years ago, and some of the material that I gained there and the contacts with the scientists made it possible for me to have a scientific background to this, which means it works. Doesn't mean it's not fun. There's humorous things in it too. So this is a very different sort of book, but I think the significance of the timing is that it was written with screen in mind and the book to go with it, and hopefully games or something else as well. But yes, I am interested in that.
Have you marketed this book and all the other books, or how do you do that?
Well, it depends whether I'm with a traditional publisher such as Penguin, who handle the Hippo, or Penguin Random House as they're called these days. They handle that, but an author still has to do.
Yes.
The most significant thing is the website. Author website I had very early on. My daughter is a marketing director, and she set me up to begin with, and I'm eternally grateful to her for that.
Fantastic.
So mine was probably a little bit more accessible and a bit more up to date early on.
Right.
And now I've had to change things. I have a lot of books. 230. They're not all on there.
230 books. Wow.
But they're only I only feature the ones that are available, and it's reasonably easily to access. So I have a page of resources for each book, and the link from that book to where it's available from the publisher.
Okay.
That one's published by BookPod. It's also available digitally on various sites as well. Another important marketing aspect is with the teaching background. I had written a lot of classroom plays in earlier times because I like doing that, and often they came out of the picture books that schools wanted to put something on for Book Week and so on.
Yes.
So Amber Press, who are a very innovative press run by Alicia Cohen, that you've possibly come across, contacted me and said, look, we'd really like to do some of your earlier books in new formats, the ones where the issues in the books have not dated.
Right.
Now, because I've got a quirky mind and I get bored easily, sometimes I pick up subjects that are of interest to me but are not necessarily topical at that time, but are still topical later. And that's what's happened. So there are a number. I've got some on handling grief and loss, where the characters are not human. And they've also done the Authorpreneurship book, which is very popular. But the other one
So how do they update it? What do you mean by that?
Oh, well, it's re-edited. I get the rights back from the original publishers, and it's produced as a new book. That is one of the most effective marketing for me, because Amber Press are very proactive, and they have a large group who are educator authors, and I fit into that category. But they have launches, have had wonderful things like little give-out biscuits that have the covers of the book on. I've never had that. Bling that goes on your thing with your covers and so forth. But the most valuable thing is they have a fabulous website. Mine links directly to them, and they handle all the sales. From my perspective, that's much better.
What about social media? Are you on social media?
Yes, I have a Facebook, X, I nearly said Twitter, X account. LinkedIn is the most valuable for me. Not looking for work, it's for profile for me. I think surviving as an author long term is to do with time and energy management. If there's only you, you've got to do everything. So I tend to accept only strategic invitations to strategic conferences, which these days are often on Zoom. I have one this Saturday that's an international one, and that is easier for me to do, and it has much more reach. The downside of it is that if you are there in person, you sign and sell lots of books. But if you're not, it's so important that the links are there to your website. And so that's why the link to a publisher from an author's website. My author website gets quite a lot of traffic from aspiring writers.
Yes.
So I have a number of free downloadable resources on there for schools and for adults who want to write. So it needs to be a mix. An example would be the Kaleidoscope of Ideas, which is one of the best collections that Amber Press has put out of mine. And they put a sampler, free downloadable sampler of a chapter from that. That has been incredibly popular, and Tournament of Minds have used that too. I originally used to write material for Tournament of Minds, which is the gifted area of education. So I suppose being strategic in both where I speak. I don't do school visits and so forth now. I used to.
With the school visits, I do school visits of my agent, so getting paid for it. Like as a keynote speaker?
I certainly did. I did regional tours and all that sort of thing. But I was also on the board of the Australian Society of Authors for 20 years.
And you were also on the chair of the Premier's Reading Challenge.
Oh yeah, I used to be on that.
Yes, that's how I got my book onto that. Thank you very much. That really helped out.
Unlike Dolly Parton and Imagination Library, I really support that. But that's organised by the publisher, and they have a very heavily discounted arrangement with Dolly Parton, which I have the greatest of support for. That lady, I think, has made a difference to the lives of many children. And we're exactly the same age, but we're not the same shape. And she has a lot more impact. And I choose selective charities of things that I can do, and she's one of them.
No, you can't spread yourself too thinly. I mean, I find everybody that I meet, when they hear about my story, they want to invite me to their Rotary Club, their book club, their tennis club. Like, you can't say yes to it all, because that is your time. And now that I have a manager, it gives me an option to say no, because my manager manages it all. But as a creative person, everyone thinks that you do it for free.
Oh yeah, I'm sort of past that, because that's what it was like in the beginning. And I've always been very strongly on the part of authors and creative people must be paid for their time. Because often when corporates are donating their staff's time, the staff are still paid.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I've always been very strong about that. I have private charitable ones that I choose to do, not when people tell me I have to do it for free.
No, I get schools emailing me, asking me to go and speak, like spend an hour of my time plus travelling for free, because they expect that of me. They expect me to share my story, but they don't understand that, they wouldn't go to work for free, so why are they expecting us to go to work for free?
Well, that's why I think early on, if you're going to be a long-term creative, you've got to decide what the fine line is between being strategic and not being selfish, but if your skill is in writing or in performing or whatever it is, if they have a big festival, they pay the caterer.
Exactly.
They pay the event
manager, they pay the lighting
and they
people.
don't pay the author.
I mean,
but they do these days.
Having said that, I mean, like, obviously you've got to do a few beginning gigs, just to get your name out there, just to get the practice, just to get connection and network. But then you get to a point where you have to learn how to say no.
Well, I think what you do is you offer a suitable alternative, and you say something like, well, if you have a very large group, can you bring a number of people together for a large event that it is paid or in kind or whatever arrangement
what
you
you
make.
have to gain from it.
Or alternatively, you suggest somebody else who's an up-and-coming who would like the experience
and the
of being
opportunity.
able to do that.
Absolutely.
Or you say, well, I have so many requests, and the Authorpreneurship book would be an example of wanting advice on how writers can survive as a business. The information is in there, and it's an e-book as well. So what I've done is to put it in a format that is more broadly available internationally, not just me in person. That said, I still do support various, if there's a personal connection. Or the other thing too is, in writing fiction, you always trial your material. You do it for non-fiction as well. But so if a school had been involved in reading or giving me some feedback or something, of course I would.
The other thing is you helped me out when I came to you with my book, The Safe Place to Live, which was written 15 years ago.
It's that long, I remember this, yes.
I emailed you and you said yes.
I said yes, it was because I thought you had the drive to get something completed. And a lot of people come to me and they haven't got a clue. But if they have that spark that looks as though they're going to try and finish it, I always help them. That's why I'm here today.
Oh, fantastic! No, that really helped me out a lot.
It's in the timing.
Yeah, it was such a timing because you are the chair of the Premier's Reading Challenge at that time, and you got my book onto the list, and that got me into all the schools and the libraries in Australia.
I didn't realise it followed through in that way. Look, I just recommend things. If something's absolutely really lousy, I don't recommend it.
It totally followed through. And then on top of that, I got a manager approached me, and I've been doing keynote speaking ever since. I do about 5 or 6 a year to different schools and different corporate events, talking about social justice and my journey to Australia. That book especially, I jumped through hoops and I had to ask so many questions. I self-published it, I self-illustrated it, I got you to launch it, I got it into the Herald Sun. Like, there was so much work and so much marketing involved, and it was just that drive, that not taking no for an answer, that just keep digging, keep finding answers. And you know, I was so lucky enough to have someone like you support me. So it's who you know, where you are, and being able to just keep going and not give up.
I think there is an obligation for a more experienced writer to do a certain amount of mentoring, and I do quite a bit of that, because it's important if at a particular time you can save that person a lot of time and a lot of energy just by one word of advice. Why wouldn't you? I had a course called Complete Your Book in a Year, which I ran at the Public Records Office, and that was mainly for people who were writing about the quiet heroes in their family, but who were using the resources of the archives. And they call themselves hazelnuts, the ones that are finished. And I found that very satisfying.
So are you on Instagram or TikTok at all? And how do you find that as an older person navigating the social media and content creation world?
Well, I persist. If I'm really stuck, I ask my 15-year-old grandson what to do. Yes, I am, and not TikTok. I've had one venture into TikTok with the Wasted book, and that didn't work terribly well for me, but I can see it is an incredibly important market for an author.
Your book is targeting the young adults?
Yep. Definitely, and that's a work in progress at the moment.
What about Reels? Do you use a lot of video content, or is it mostly just photographs?
No, I haven't so far. To be honest, I try and learn one technical thing a day, and it might be something very tiny and technical.
No, same with me too.
Like how I can move it from the iPad to the phone and so on.
There's always new things to learn.
And I tend to learn by doing, well, when I have to learn it. But I do really try and learn one thing a day.
Yeah, I'll really be on it all the time too.
Yeah, and for me, how much time I can afford to spend on that. I used Facebook initially as a way of learning how to put up photos, to be honest, and to keep some sort of record. I can't follow the algorithms, but I think I've got much smaller following than I used to have.
Okay.
LinkedIn is the biggest response.
I mean, for you, your audience is on more the TikTok and Instagram platform. So I feel that if you're not on that kind of platform, your reach is it's not going to be the same. If you can get help on maybe TikTok, if you can even outsource it. If you can't do it yourself, outsource it.
I agree with you, and I will try and learn that. The publicist from BookPod put some, had a strategy for the Wasted book, and part of that was including the TikTok area.
I think it's called BookTok.
Yeah,
BookTok.
But I had a slight glitch in that I had some very high-powered scientists giving me information for the research of the book, and they gave me permission to use it, but not necessarily for the visuals of them on it. And it was just a time-specific thing that made it difficult, that I had to take it down.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I think you're probably right. I don't write only in the young adult area, but I think you're quite right for that audience. It's worth it. For me, it's a matter of whether the amount of time for me to learn how to do it.
Of course, yeah.
I do have a webmaster.
Yeah. Being a business owner, you have to let go and outsource a lot of other things. You know, you have to just do what you're good at, basically, and then you get in the marketing team, you get in the social media team. For my generation, Gen X, there's not that many people on TikTok, and there's not that many people who want to be in front of the camera. You need to show your face, you need to show yourself on camera, because people relate to humans. That's why personal accounts work a lot better than, say, corporate accounts. And as an author, you're trying to build up your personal profile, as you were saying before, and that's important. Like, you're becoming this person rather than your books.
Yeah. Areas that surprisingly I've had the biggest response from are when something funny has happened in relation to a character or to a book, and that's either been a letter to the editor or a para in one of the quirky columns. An example would be when the Wasted book was launched at the Albury-Wodonga, right around the Murray Festival. They had an actor inside a large hippo suit, and apparently you can hire these.
Yeah.
Some young girls in their muck-up day of HSC, they got mass ones, and there were 3 or 4 of them. They sent me the photo.
Oh, fantastic!
All these girls
in
there, and that had more hits.
Yes, of course.
Than anything, and that was the teenage, because they were 17, 18, and they had read it when they were a kid and all that sort of thing. So that's what I mean about the continuity.
I mean, the hippopotamus can have its own TikTok page.
Well, it's had fan mail for years, and of course the hippo has to answer that, which of course is me.
Yes, it's not all about selling the books. It's all about building a community. It's about educating people around the storyline, like, you know, with the Wasted, educating the rubbish dumps.
It's a fact that it's been taken into picture. A lot of people didn't know about that.
No, exactly. You can portray all that information on videos, whether it be TikTok, YouTube or Instagram. Also talk about the families that affected, the families around that area and their lives, and information that people don't know about, and that's very interesting. Video is king now rather than just still images. I do so much more videos than I do photography, because I'm with Booked Out Management, and all of the public speakers have their own bio and then the headshot. I was thinking about even taking that a step ahead, and instead of having headshots on websites and bio, why not have a very short 30-second description of who you are, what you talk about if you're a public speaker, or what you write about if you're an author, or a public speaker, or what you write about if you're an author, and have that as a professional headshot rather than a still. Because it just gives so much more information in such a short period of time rather than just seeing somebody's mugshot. I mean, in fact, a lot of people who are interviewing today, like my son and daughter who are going for interviews, instead of putting in a resume, the businesses have asked them for a video, to upload a video and just answer these few questions, you know, like, why do you want to work here, and blah, 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 blah. And then from there, they actually can judge to see whether you're the right fit for that role.
If you're the first person to use a new way of doing something, people are enamoured with the way, but yours becomes the case study, so they're very interested in you because they haven't seen something done in that way before. And I think you're quite right about a speakers bureau. I think, by all means speak. Not all authors are really keen on talking. And I don't mean only authors, but in some other fields too. They are very good at whatever it is they do, but they don't necessarily have those skills. But my view is you just have to learn them.
It's like the more you do videos or speak in front of the camera or get interviewed or post, the better you get. Like, it's all about consistency. It's all about just doing it over and over again so that it becomes second nature. Like anything, really. Like, if you want to lose weight, you have to be consistent on what you're eating. If you want to build muscles at the gym, you have to be consistent on what, the muscle group that the exercise that you're doing. If you want to learn a new language, you've got to be consistent on learning the language, speaking it. It's the same with videos. If you want to be used to it, if you want to be good at it, you just have to just do it.
Well, I think all those comments are highly relevant to a number of people who are self-published or author-published,
Yes.
as it is now, because with the development in technology, a number of people are more likely now. In the past, it was called vanity publishing. You did it because you couldn't place your book anywhere else.
Yeah, well, that's what I did.
But it's not that. It's not that anymore. It's a niche market, or the technology is such that it's possible to do.
Yeah.
Or you will find that there are quite a few very experienced authors. I mean, a number of my colleagues, I've had 3 self-published books, I think, now, because I thought the subject matter was important.
Yes.
The skills that you're suggesting there are even more relevant to the person who's an independent, because there's only one of them, whereas in traditional publishing you had a whole department who did PR. You
don't need to do that.
You don't have that anymore.
Do you think that the way of social media now is starting to make the traditional publishing industry less important, like less necessary, like with advertising on social media, with access to printing, with ebooks, with all that editing video capacity? You can just upload an ebook, upload a podcast, upload anything yourself. Does that make the publishing houses a little bit redundant?
Certainly things have changed, and your point about, say, podcasts is very relevant, because that's something that can be done more easily without a lot of extra equipment.
Yeah.
I think there are other variables too. The major factor is whether a book can be sold or not. In other words, there's got to be the income coming in from the amount of effort, otherwise it's not worth
Absolutely,
it. So if you are, for example, a self-published author, if you're only, this is your first book and possibly the only one you're ever going to do, you put loads and loads of energy into it, and you already have a group of people who are interested in that niche market. And so that could go quite well. And so social media, etc., on a topical issue that nobody else has covered before, could do really, really well. I think the difficulty with the traditional publishers is they've got the general channels they've always done.
Yes.
And I think some of those are dated now, and they don't work as well. But from a self-employed creative's point of view, you have to know that eventually there will be an income coming from that, because if there isn't, you can't afford to.
You can't sustain it.
So you invest energy in writing the book, you invest time, and promoting it and so forth. I think you have to. You have to. And your points about social media are highly relevant, because I think a self-published author really needs to know the skills that you're talking about there. And you don't always find it on the first book.
No, exactly. But what about, like, somebody becomes really famous on social media, an almost celebrity kind of character, and then the publishers approaches them to say, hey, can you write a book?
That happens. There's a bit of distaste for that, because quite often they don't actually write it, somebody else writes
ghostwriters.
And it's being sold. The Duchess of York was an example of that. That the book's not terribly good. It's being sold on the celebrity name, which means there probably won't be a second one unless you have a channel where you talk about other people's books on it. So that factor comes into it. And also, if you're a prize footballer, it doesn't necessarily mean you can write a book, but it might be that an aspect of football that you want to write about is highly relevant to a large group.
And do authors feel a little bit cheated?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, partly because a publicity budget or a marketing budget is determined by the advance that's given to the writer, And if you've got a couple of high-profile celebrities, that's where the money's gone. But it's actually the middle group who are the regular writers that people will follow their next books that don't need as much promotion, but they don't get it.
Yes.
So it's a matter of where the energies are placed on the behalf of the publishing department.
Yeah, and I guess the publishing house is a business.
Of
So they
course
want
it's a
to
business.
put their money on so they get return on investment. And if someone's got a really high profile,
They'll get more attention.
they'll get more sales
Yeah.
as well because of their followings, their community that they've built on the social media, and also the hype that's leading up to it that can sell that book.
I think underneath, it's got to be reasonably written. It's a quickly put together thing.
Yeah.
People will look at it for the novelty value,
Yes.
but they won't necessarily keep it. They won't necessarily, unless a person who wrote it is very high profile in the media world. You can write a really good book and nobody's ever heard of it, and that's a waste.
Yes.
But it's the reality.
Yes.
So these days, yes, you do need the marketing on social media and elsewhere in order that the books get out there. But maybe it's not only the books, it might be, it's the ideas that might take a different format. They might be a puppet play. One of my writing clients is a dentist, and she's also a children's entertainer, and she came to me and wrote her book, and she's using it with puppets on kids keeping their teeth. She's a very interesting example of an entrepreneur. Now, she's fabulous at marketing.
Let's get back to the AI topic. What about AI being able to write books? Like, are you threatened, or how do you feel about that?
Well, about 18 months ago was the first time it was possible to find out how, if your books had been skimmed, and mine had. That means there's a sort of backlog of material that's a bit raw and undigested in the AI system. There are a few mistakes in there at the moment which are worrying, and particularly as people tend to assume it's all accurate. I think it is a concern about the quality, but the quality is improving fairly quickly. I think the role of AI is in routine tasks like manuals with dot points, and to take away the administrative, particularly if you're a single person business.
Sure.
I do not think it has the what I call soul or the quirkiness in terms of stories. Now, it is possible to put in as a prompt, would you write about something or other in the style of Hazel Edwards, right? Now, they can find enough of my stuff, they can do that. But it's not quite right. It doesn't quite fit. But they are improving exponentially. But I think the role of AI is probably more than glorified spell check. To be honest, I've spoken to other professional writers. Most of them write their original. They maybe put in a couple of prompt queries, but the third version is really theirs. It's not AI.
Because they've edited
it. They might have tweaked a couple of things. The difficulty is also financial return, in terms of, in the past, there was a concept of copyright, that the person who wrote the original should have recompense when other people used it, which was fair enough. I think that concept is outdated now. I think there's going to have to be some other way of recompense for the use of your ideas in a particular format. But I don't quite see what the answer is at the moment. And I think it is a really big issue.
I'm loving AI at the moment because I'm dyslexic and also ADHD. So it gathers my thoughts. I still have to tell it what I want, maybe in form or prompted or whatever. But if I'm trying to draft a letter or proposal, I always go through that.
I can see there are roles for it. And as I said with the earlier one, with the Go-Go Gecko, of protecting the image of children from... I think that's fair enough. But what worries me is that a lot of, particularly teenage students, are going straight to AI for stuff. So they're not actually learning how to do something, how to discard things that don't work.
Well, they don't even read it before they hand it in. That's the problem too. So they're not really learning anything at all.
It is such a powerful tool, but got to be moderated in its use, I think. And the concept of respecting that somebody takes a long time to create something worthwhile. I think what will happen is most creatives won't be able to make a living unless they've got some other portfolios. I think most people are going to need something else. I don't think somebody like me who, I basically made a living for writing in 50 years, which was, you know, comparable to a teacher's income. But I worked hard and I was a workaholic. But I don't think that's possible now.
Right.
I think you will need other occupations, ideas, allied occupations, but you will need other occupations.
You're able to self-publish because you can self-market, all that stuff. Would you then make more money than you would if you went through a publisher, because they will take the royalties or whatever they.
The normal arrangement with a conventional publisher is 10% of the recommended retail price. Quite often it's not sold on the recommended retail price because they'll sell them to Aldi's or whatever.
But now that you can publish your own book and you can put it on your own website and you can self-distribute it, you can get 100%.
Yes, you can, but you also got to cost your time and energy in the process of doing so. And how many books would you need to do to make a living? And if it is now possible that you put out your book and AI can skim your book too, so why would somebody else pay for it? I think the Copyright Agency has kept an eye for a while, and they have licenses that people can copy things. So schools and universities and so on had to fill in forms. They paid on some to the writers, etc. I think that income's going to dry up because people will go straight to AI. It worries me that some naive people put their entire novel, which has not been published anywhere, or piece of work, into AI to get it fixed.
Because they've got that information.
They don't realise
it's on a database somewhere. They've just given up their work.
They've given it away for nothing. And I heard an example the other day where somebody had put it in and it was turned into an audio in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And that concerns me.
Yes.
I think what it is the technological ability is so far ahead of the legal and the moral issues. There's not an easy answer, but it's foolish to say, I will not try it, I will not use it. It's not AI bad, human writers good. It's not like that. We've got to look at what's possible.
Where you can use it to help you out.
But your social media skills at the moment are incredibly important in getting an idea out to a potential audience or a potential client.
Just the reach, like the marketing reach.
Yes.
With the access to social media, it just makes marketing a lot cheaper for small businesses and authors. You know, you don't have to pay the PR person, you don't have to pay a marketing person to help you if you know what you're doing. You can you can get people to help you with much less cost than you would to get a whole publishing house helping you out. Let's finish this off with what's next. What's on the drawing table?
Well, I would like to get an offer for somebody to do the screenplay of Wasted.
Yes.
And to film that. I would really like to see that.
Have you done anything filmed before?
Yes, but I don't want to write the screenplay.
No, okay.
I would like to get that. My adult celebrant sleuth, who's a celebrant who solves mysteries at weddings and funerals, and one is on the GAN. That got very close to being done by the ABC.
Yes.
But I would like to see that up somewhere, and I would love to sit in on the filming on the GAN. And my real love is children's theatre, and I would love to see some of my earlier works being performed.
So how are you going to go about connections and networking and getting it in front of people and getting someone to sign up?
Well, I've done a proposal for the treatment for the wasted one.
Yeah.
I have 3-4 doco makers interested at the moment in doing a doco on me.
Oh, yes.
And one on the process of doing the research for the wasted book, which is suitable for a school educational piece as well.
Yeah.
I try to do one thing towards those projects every day and one technological skill as well. So a little bit all the time. The way you get something is personal contacts, and I have a range of personal contacts. You have to have something ready. I'm ready now with the wasted book.
Yes.
Now that it's been published. That's really the document
To go and
persuade, to seduce.
Oh, well, watch this space.
I hope so. Thank
Cross
you.
fingers. Thank you very much.